It's the Bulls Podcast, episode 12.
Hey, Chicago Bulls fans! It's time for your Bulls Podcast. And here are your hosts, Marcus Couch and Wyse Black.
Welcome to the Bulls Podcast, coming to you from bullspodcast.com. This is where we'll be bringing you the latest news, reviews, rants, rumors, and opinions on the players, coaches, and front office of the Chicago Bulls. My name is Marcus Couch, and with me is my co-host, Mr. Wyse Black.
Yo. What's up? What's good with all my Bull lifers out there, man? So I'm feeling great right now because my Bulls put on the show today, so you already know I'm ready to do the same. Let's get it.
All right, and we are pleased to present one of the more enjoyable personalities that covers the Bulls on YouTube. It's the man, the myth, the legend. It's Swaggy Brice.
What's good, Bulls Nation? What's good with y'all? I'm happy to be on this podcast, my first time, so I'm excited. It's a fun episode ahead of us, especially after a Bulls win. Could not be any better. So let's get it. I'm excited. Let's go, Bulls Nation.
All right, we got a lot in store for you this episode. Well, not so much a lot, but at least a lot meaning-wise, because we've got some Bulls post-game analysis versus the Indiana Pacers. It was the one on the schedule that I was kind of the most worried about, but we handled them. And we're going to remember longtime Bulls assistant coach Tex Winter, the architect of the triangle offense. And we're going to do that right after this.
Bulls fans, remember to follow the show on social media at Bulls Podcast and at bullspodcast.com.
Okay, we're back, and it's time to gloat and talk victory. That's right, the Bulls just beat the Indiana Pacers 104-89. A lot of strange things in this particular game, including Jabari coming off the bench, Wendell Carter Jr. starting. There was a lot going on here. So, hey, Brice, we'll start with you, my man. What'd you think of this win and how the coaching might differ as far as the starting lineup coming to the regular season?
This game was by far the most complete game we've played in preseason. I know it's only a small sample size, but it's good to see, especially a guy like Zach LaVine stepping up. I believe Zach LaVine is going to be our most impressive player this year. And so far in preseason, he's looked like he's going to be the guy for us. And I was very happy to see guys like Zach LaVine, Chris Dunn shined a little bit, and Bobby Portis again stepped up. And those three guys have been somewhat impressive so far in preseason, and I was very pleased to see them play. But again, I'm still very worried about our defense. I feel like we have to improve on that side of the ball, but you can't ever complain after a win. But I'm happy to see those guys do well. Yeah,
same here, man. I felt like the biggest difference, obviously, to this game was the new lineup. The insertion of Bobby Portis and Wendell Carter Jr. Like, Bobby Portis being in the starting lineup, it just gave us life. It gave us energy. It gave us that aggressiveness on the offensive end, and also on the defensive end as well. I believe the first Bulls bucket was Bobby Portis steal, and he went out for a break and dunked it. Didn't even pass it to Zach LaVine that was on a break with him because he didn't need to. Bobby was on fire tonight, and I mean, I feel like he just really he brought that energy to the entire team, and it just flew throughout the game. And I really felt like Bobby Portis being in the lineup made that difference. And it's really weird because last year with Bobby Portis in the lineup, in the starting lineup, he didn't fare too well. He seemed like he was one of those players that was just made to come off of the bench. But I don't know, maybe Bobby Portis has like just immense motivation right now because it's a contract year for him. So he's like just unconscious. He doesn't care. He's out there, he's focused, and he's ready. So Bobby Portis was the biggest difference in this game, if you ask me. But looking at Zach LaVine, man, like, this dude he's looking like that $78 million man right now. Like, Zach LaVine is putting on a show. His shooting percentage, like, throughout these last 4 games of the preseason is superb. I believe it's close to 50%. I don't have the stats in front of me right now, but I believe it's close to 50%. His 3-point shooting is stellar. His defense looks a notch up, a couple notches up, if you ask me, from last year. And his focus is just on. Chris Dunn did his thing, man. Especially he redeemed himself from the last game with those 6 turnovers. This game, he came out. He was focused on the defensive end of the floor. He actually popped a top of the key 3 to start the game. And, man, it just took off from there. I really felt like the entire team just murdered this game, and that's exactly what they did to the Pacers tonight.
Yeah, so Bobby actually played 21 minutes, got 20 points, 8 of 11. As far as shooting goes, 3 out of 5 from 3-point range. Had a plus 22 rating tonight. Wow, that's pretty good. 6 rebounds to go along with that. 5 defensive, 1 offensive. How about Justin Holiday? He played 29 minutes, 22 points at a plus 27 rating, 4 out of 7 from 3, 8 from 14 from field goal. That's pretty good. But as you mentioned, man, Zach LaVine, he another 22-point night. I think he had 23 the last couple games average. Just shy of 50% or maybe even 50% from field goal percentage as far as the entire preseason. And I agree with you, man. He's stepping it up defensively. He's doing some really good cuts. I'm watching him cover his man, and he's doing good off ball stuff too. So I don't know, man. I think he's really taking this to heart once he got that new contract and everybody started to question his defensive ability. I think he really stepped it up. So Bryce, who do you think, we'll start it with you, who do you think was the MVP of this particular game?
To me, it has to be Zach LaVine. But just because of his confidence, he looks like he's ready to play. He looks like he's gained that step. He looks like he has that bounce in him. And I'm just really happy to see him because after a torn ACL, people did not realize that it takes a while to come back to be fully recovered from an ACL. And last season he came back after 9 months, and people expected him to be a 20-point scorer right away. People expected him to be a complete player right off the bat. And it takes time. And we should have known that, especially after the D Rose situation. We should have known that like this takes a while for players to be the full self after an ACL. And people were ready to let this man walk for $78 million. And if he can play like this every night, that $78 million that we gave him is going to look like a joke. So Zach LaVine, in my opinion, was the MVP of this game because he is proving that he's going to be that guy for us. It's unfortunate right now that we don't have Lauri Markkanen. I believe Lauri Markkanen is another guy that's going to be special for us. But until then, if Zach LaVine can improve, especially his shooting and his assisting, I think we would be all right. Because I think for Zach LaVine to be that next star for us, we need him to be sometimes play that point guard position because sometimes when he's not on the floor, when Chris Dunn is not on the floor, we might need Zach LaVine to play point guard. And as a point guard, I know Zach LaVine is a shoot first guard, but sometimes you might need him to play that point guard position. And if he can improve on his passing ability, that would be scary because I don't trust Cameron Payne to be the backup point guard. But if Zach LaVine's going to play a lot of minutes, because I believe his minutes going to be up to 40, because we're going to need him, especially in the beginning without Lauri Markkanen. If he can be that guy for us that can sometimes play the point guard position, I know he can, but by saying he can play the point guard, I mean he can actually facilitate the offense and run the offense the same way Chris Dunn can do when Chris Dunn is not on the floor. It will be really, really good. And this game, he has to be my MVP. I'm impressed because he looks confident. In this league, if you don't have confidence, you cannot be a successful player. And Zach LaVine looks like, hey, you guys doubted me, and I want to prove all of you guys wrong. And to me, I think he might be in the All-Star of the East this year. That's an early call, but he looked extremely impressive early on. And Zach LaVine, I'm happy to see this guy because I remember the other game, he got a little injury, and people were kind of worried. People thought it was the ACL again, but he's come back. He looked impressive, and nothing's wrong with Zach LaVine. So I'm happy to see Zach LaVine keep doing this thing, and he might be an all-star this year. I'm happy he was the MVP of the game for me.
Yeah. Nah, great points. Great points, Swaggy. I don't know. It's a little bit tough for me between Bobby Portis and Zach LaVine, but I think I'm going to go with Portis as this game's MVP. And the reason I say that is strictly for just energy, man, energy and swagger. Obviously, Zach LaVine showed a lot of swagger out there as well, but I think Bobby Portis made the difference in this game as opposed to the last two that they lost by a considerable margin. Like, I felt like in those last two games, yes, LaVine, he played, and he actually played fairly well, but he didn't necessarily make that much of a difference when it came to impactful buckets. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like with Bobby Portis being in the starting lineup this game, I felt like anytime, okay, the Bulls led pretty much the entire game and fairly decently too. They had a fairly decent lead the entire game. But on a few occasions, the Pacers would make a run. They would make a quick little run, but who would come to the rescue and stop the bleeding? Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis would come out of nowhere with like an energy play, maybe a dunk to spike the crowd, or a crazy three that was just totally unexpected. Like, we all knew that Bobby Portis could shoot, but like, he looked lights out this game, man. This game reminded me of the game from last year when they went up against the 76ers, I believe it was, and Bobby Portis put up, 39? He almost dropped 40 points. This game reminded me of that, and he played half the minutes that he did that game. Like, if this was a regular season game, Bobby would have probably put up nearly 40 points again. So the impact that Bobby Portis had on this game, I just feel like he invigorated the entire team, man. You know what I'm saying? All the way down to the bench players as well. I feel like he motivated Jabari Parker. Because looking at how Jabari Parker was playing before when he was in the starting lineup, I mean, coming out tonight, he looked like a totally different player in the first half. You know, his jumper was on, his foot speed was there on the offensive end, and I contribute that to Bobby Portis. So Bobby Portis was my MVP for this game.
I'm gonna go with Bobby Portis as well. Just because, you know, for him to get this starting role preseason, I think it's twofold. I want him to play really, really well as opposed to Jabari Parker, because Jabari, I don't know his deal, man, but it's like, you're home, but you don't own this house yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like
so far, I have not been impressed with Parker. I don't know what it is, but he just looks like he doesn't have that step, or it's just. He, like, today, there was one play, he just dribbled a basketball for about 10 seconds. And I was just like, are you going to do something with it? Or what are you? Because so far right now, I don't know what's the deal with Parker. But another guy I think deserves some love is Justin Holiday.
Yeah.
He is a guy that last season was about to be traded. And for him to have 22 points, and he's one of those guys, I believe, for us, is when he shoots the basketball well, we're all right. But when he doesn't shoot it well, he kind of just goes in that funk where I feel like he doesn't believe in himself as much. And
exactly,
he had 22 points, and he looks like he could not miss out there. So I'm happy to see him doing well, because he's going to be a key piece for us. Especially Lauri Markkanen is not in there, so Lauri Markkanen is a huge loss for us. And for Justin Holiday, we're going to need guys like him to step up. And another guy I need to step with, kind of Hutchison. Hutchison should take this chance, especially with Parker not playing well. I need him to step up too, because he's a guy I really, really believe in, because when we drafted Hutchison, I thought he was actually going to be better than Carter, but Carter so far looks more impressive. But Hutchison got to take advantage of this moment, especially with Parker not playing well. Holiday made the most of it tonight, so I'm happy to see Holiday doing well. And Holiday is definitely another guy we should give props to, because it's hard not getting consistent minutes or feeling like you're not fitting in with the squad. So I'm happy to see him just keeping his head up, because we need Holiday for us to be good this year.
Yeah, now I was also impressed with AB, Antonio Blakeney, minute Rice. He came off the bench and gave us 10 points, 10 points in 18 minutes, which I think that's respectable. If he can at least hit double digits during the season all year long, that's great. That's better than a lot of the different guys that we've had coming off the bench for a long time. But as far as like the least valuable player of the game, I'm not going to say Jabari, because, I think he's just trying to find his way, and I can't say Felicio because he's always the least valuable. But
I was about to say, come on, man, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, but I am a little disappointed. I'm a little disappointed in how Hutch played tonight. I mean, no points in 16 minutes 0 for 3 field goals, 0 for 2 and 3-pointers, minus
13
rating. 4 rebounds, I'll give you that. But geez, man, it really wasn't a lot. I'm sorry. What did he get? 3 rebounds, 2 defensive, 1 offensive. Not a lot there. So I hope he
and he's definitely a guy.
You know what?
Sure, early on like this, he has to take advantage of the chances that he's going to get, because when Lauri Markkanen gets back, he's not going to get the same opportunities. I know it's preseason, but Hutchison is a guy that he can earn early minutes by playing well. And for him to have 0 points in a game like this, where the Bulls dominated offensively and looked like we had that spark, and I know he's only a rookie and we have to give him time, but we don't have time for these rookies to grow. We need them to grow fast as we go along, because every game's going to be crucial for us making the playoffs, because we can't take days off. We can't have games where guys are not showing up, because if we're going to make the playoffs, we're going to be from that 6 to 8 range, and we need Hutchison, every guy on his roster, to step up. So for him to have 17 minutes and not even have a bucket, it's a little embarrassing, because I believe in this guy. I believe he has a ton of potential, but we need him to start growing up and maturing, because there's a lot of pressure for us to make the playoffs this year, because if we don't, somebody like Fred might be gone. I'm not trying to make any speculations, but there's a chance. So we need these players to step up, and Hutchison got to take care of his opportunities when he gets, because in this league, you don't get a ton of them. And because when Lowry gets back, he might not play as much. So
I think Kendall Gill had a really good point on one of the Bulls' last post-game shows. I think that if I remember correctly, he said that Chandler Hutchison looks like he should go down to the G League a little bit and just gain a little bit of confidence, much like Antonio Blakeney did. He has to, just get his feet wet a little bit, go against players who maybe are a little bit lesser talented NBA players, and really get into his groove. I believe that the G League players are a step up from college players, so he still will be playing against better talent than he used to, but I think that he'll flourish a little bit better against those lesser talented guys. So, and also even looking at Bobby Portis's rookie stats, those weren't too great as well. You know what I mean? So I believe Bobby Portis averaged 7 points in his rookie year, 5 rebounds. He wasn't that stellar of a player. And obviously we had a couple other players on the team that were, ahead of him, and Paul Gasol and, players of that nature. So with Chandler Hutchison, I think that he's one of those players that are just gonna, he's gonna start slow and he's gonna get better with time, get better with it over the years, actually. But also, you mentioned Justin Holiday. See, with Justin Holiday, for me, he does this every year that he's been with the Bulls. He has those games where he looks very productive. He has those games where, yeah, exactly. You live and die by the jump shot, man. And he's the epitome of that saying, because Justin Holiday will be, man, on fire one game, but then the next game he'll come out and go 0 for 13 or
he shot 4 for 7 today for 3. So he stepped up tonight. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, I think he does have a place on this team given the talent that we have right now. But if Denzel Valentine comes back, I would rather him get minutes over him. I would rather
that's
see
another
Denzel
guy too, because Valentine
develop over him.
Hutchison won't get the minutes. So I love Hutchison a lot, and I want him to fit into the squad. And he's only a rookie. I feel like Hutchison might be going to that early stage, because at Boise State, he was the guy. He was playing every position for him because he's 6'7", he's athletic. So he was fitting in for a lot of spots. And here, we only need him at a specific position. So right now, he's still adjusting. But for us, I know we have a young team, but if we want to make this playoff and take the 8th spot, we have to have these young guys step up. They need to be there every night. Because I know young teams like to take days off, and you can't do that in this league. Because I know the Eastern Conference is a little weaker, but we're not going to be a 50-win team. We're going to be on that maybe 42 to 48, maybe. And so you have to have these guys step up. So I need guys like Hutchison and Antonio Blakeney, all these guys at the bottom of the roster to step up, because some nights the starters might not have it. And you need your bench to step up, because I don't think that Portis is going to be a starter, because at the end of the day, they brought Parker here to start. And Portis even said that he's better off coming off the bench. So we need to have our bench playing the way they should. So, and Bobby Portis is going to be leading the bench, and I expect him to get those guys ready because Portis always shows up. He always has that energy, and he needs to just pass it down to the bottom of the roster.
Yeah, and we got to see some guys that we haven't seen in games before, at least, not in garbage time. So Jakar Sampson, what do you guys think of how he's playing? I think he wants to make this roster for some reason. He had a lot of hustle plays, not a lot of points, but he seemed to be all over the ball.
See, I just remember, whenever I think of him, I remember exactly dunking on him last year. So
yeah, that's our Kodak moment, man.
That's all that I could think about when I see Jakar Sampson as well. I get it; he's a hustle player and all that, but he doesn't excite me. I'm sorry,
he does not
get me going. I don't really think that we needed him on this team. He's a power forward. They list him as a small forward, but the dude cannot dribble. From what I've seen while he's on the floor, lately in these few games, he's just an energy power forward type of player, But he's not better than Wendell. He's not better than who else? Bobby, obviously. Where is he going to fit in? Whose minutes are he going to take?
He doesn't fit in on his roster. He's probably one of those guys going to be bottom of the roster, maybe get cut. But I'm not excited about him because all I think about is just exactly dunking on him.
Who I want to see, man, y'all already know, is my man Derek Walton Jr. Man, why is he not playing? Why is Ryan Arcidiacono getting tick over Derek Walton Jr.? Is it because he has more seniority on the team? Even Campaign, looking at what Campaign does out there, this dude will go 1 for 7. He did the
went 1 for 9
in the last game. Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? And even looking at him out there on the defense, you know what? I'll give it to him. He a sneaky little player. He's sneaky out there because a couple times he'll come around.
I've never understood the excitement about Cameron Payne. I don't see it. I don't think he's a piece. I think the Bulls just have to admit that was a bad trade and just kind of move on from him.
Yeah.
Because instead of him getting the backup unit minutes, I would rather just see Zach LaVine get those backup point guard minutes because he's going to be more productive for us than putting Cameron Payne in there because I don't have any faith in Cameron Payne running the backup point guard. He's not an exciting player.
I feel
like the Bulls have to admit that they made a mistake by that trade. That trade was an awful trade that should have never been made. And instead of playing him, they have to just put Zach LaVine or somebody else, like maybe Valentine, that can play that position because Cameron Payne is not the guy. Because if we're relying on Cameron Payne to give us backup minutes in order for us to go into the playoffs, because I believe the goal is playoffs this year. So if we're relying on Cameron Payne, we're in trouble. We have bigger issues than just backup point guards. So I am not excited for him. I would rather see another important player for us step up and play that point guard position when it's done. It's not on the floor.
I get you about Zach LaVine coming in, maybe playing a little bit of backup point guard with the second unit and even Denzel Valentine. But neither one of those guys are true point guards. I get that Zach LaVine can handle it, but if he's starting, I don't want to have him winded. You know what I mean? I don't want to have him winded, controlling the ball too much. You know what I'm saying? And I think that would be the case if we did try to use him interchangeably like that too much. And with Denzel Valentine, I don't think that he's quick enough. He's not quick enough to guard opposing point guards or even offensively. Offensively, I feel like opposing point guards will kind of D him up. You know what I'm saying? He's not that great of a he can ball handle, but at an elite level when it comes to the point guard position, I don't trust him there. But he is one of those players that can play make a little bit. But I feel like we need a legitimate backup point guard, a gritty, hard-nosed point guard who can actually command the bench. And I think that's Derek Walton Jr. I don't know if you guys have seen him play enough or anything like that, but this dude can hoop. He averaged 16 points just this past summer league with the Miami Heat's summer league team. This dude can, and also 4.5 assists and 1 steal. Dude can ball, and that's not even just stats. When you look at him on the court, he plays hard. He reminds me of Chris Dunn's hunger. You know what I'm saying? He plays like a dog out there, and he's not backing down from nobody. And that's what I want to see out of my backup point guard.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you on that one. And let's talk about the invisible man, and that was Robin Lopez. Is he just pissed that he came off the bench or something? Man, he shot 0 for 4, no points, 4 rebounds, nothing.
Stick a fork in them, brothers. Like, I mean, I don't know what to say, man. And I hate to even say that because how did Rolo fall so quickly, y'all? Like, I mean, just last season, I was praising Robin Lopez. You know what I'm saying? I thought that he was a tough, smart center who actually had a nice inside game, who had a nice big body to box out players. I felt like he was one of the reasons why Lauri Markkanen got the rebounds that he did. I felt like he covered for Lauri a lot, you know, and he actually, hindered his game a little bit, meaning his own game, by like not grabbing as many boards as he could have last year. But now he just looks like a shell of himself. I don't know who that is out there. He's super slow. He doesn't switch like off of the picks. He doesn't switch. He's scared to step up to the man, and that's why they just drain it, because he'll give the opposing player, the opposing offensive player, like 5 or more feet to just do whatever they want. And these will be guys that can shoot. So with Robin Lopez, I don't know what we can do for him, because right now his trade value is looking like it's going to be 0. So, like, talking about trading Robin Lopez and plus looking at that contract that he has right now, I get that it's 1 year, but what are we paying him, like $14 million, upwards of $14 million? Yeah. Like, somebody would look like that, would look at that contract as a contract that you're taking on for something else in return. You know what I'm saying? Like, so Rolo needs to get it together. I saw somebody tweet that maybe he's just trying to, let the kid get some minutes, or he's playing bad so Wendell Carter Jr. can get some tick. I think that's BS. I don't know what's going on with Rolo, but, man, he needs to get it together.
Yeah, not to make an excuse for him, but it's tough for a guy like him because he was playing so well last season, and they just decided to sit him because they were tanking. So I think I still believe in him because defensively he hasn't been as great, but he just needs to get his step back. For the same reason I praise Holiday, it's tough when you don't know when your minutes are going to be there, because he was an outside looking in last year, and
Good point.
Year. And he's trying to find that next step. He's trying to find his rhythm back. And it's going to take him a little while because he didn't play the second half of the season for the most part. So they can't just all of a sudden expect him to be the same player he was the first half of the season last year. I know he hasn't played well, but it's just because he hasn't played basketball in almost half the season. So it's going to take him a few more games to get his confidence back and his step back. I know he's a veteran, but defensively, he can still help us this year. There's no point of us trading him because he only has 1 year on the deal. Nobody's going to take him. We're not going to get much from him, but he can help us defensively. And that's where we're really, really weak this year, because defense is going to be our weakest part on this season. And for a guy like Robin Lopez, he's valuable because he's long and he can get rebound, and he's going to be valuable when the season gets along, because we might have injuries, because if Carter gets hurt, who are we gonna put in that center? Because definitely
knock on wood.
So we need Robin Lopez to step up, and I have faith in him. And he just needs to get his confidence back because he didn't play the second half of last season. So we just need to give him a little bit of time. Yeah,
I'm with you on that. And Felicio, God, man, I don't know. I don't know what to think of this guy. I don't know how. We're talking about declines here, and we were, just mentioning Rolo, but what is up with Felicio? And I don't know, Brice, if you caught it, at least
he does not even look at the basket.
Yeah.
He does not look at the basket when he gets the ball.
He doesn't get the chance to.
Here's what ticked me off. There was still 15 seconds left in the game, and they were dribbling it out, but Felicio's already heading to the bench at the end of this game. It's like, you don't need a shower, man. You didn't work up nothing.
It's funny because the season before he got the big extension, he was playing really well. I had confidence in him. Yeah. I thought he was going to be one of those guys that maybe eventually develops a post game, because he's super athletic. He's extremely athletic, and I liked his bounce. But he just never developed any offensive game, and I don't know what he does in the offseason, because the Bulls always showing videos of him working out, and I don't understand how this guy has no offensive move. What does he work on during the offseason? I have no idea, because he has no offensive move. Whenever he catches the basketball, he's so predictable. He's not going to try to take you off. He can't shoot. He can't post up. So I don't know how valuable he is. Maybe defensively, but I'm lost to Warriors for Felicio, and I don't know why we gave him the deal we gave him. But I guess it wasn't that much money. I guess it was like something like $38 million for 4 years. But somehow I don't know what happened to Felicio, because after he signed the extension, he's just been awful.
Yeah, I'll tell you what he was doing in the offseason, going to weddings, hanging out in Brazil, balling with all of his friends. I called him out on Instagram. He replied to me.
He did.
I said, man, we ain't seen you work out all summer. What's up,
yeah, I mean, there's no reason to even have a segment about Felicio, y'all. I mean, there's
I can't not mention him. You know, you got to talk about him.
Yeah, come on, man. He's Casper to me at this point. I mean, you see at what time he was out there. Felicio will not get any. He'll probably average like 1 minute a game in the regular season.
Like, is this his last year, or do we got him for next year too?
We got him for next year.
Yeah, we got him for next year. Like, there's no way we're getting rid of that contract.
Can we make him be Benny the Bull or something? Can we make him do something else?
Do something, please. I don't know. Like,
I don't even think I think Benny the Bull would outplay him. I'm serious.
Man.
One thing I do want to mention is that the announcers for this game, at least on ESPN, were talking about Lauri Markkanen and how he was doing left-handed threes at the beginning of the game in warm-ups, and I guess he hit like 10 in a row or something like that from his left side. So that's pretty cool. And then I said this last week, and I kind of still feel like this. Like, I think it's okay for Lauri to be gone for just a month or so of the regular season, whatever that's going to be, just because I think it's going to take that much time for these guys that are on this roster now to gel together. And it's starting to come together. It came together a little bit better tonight. Some guys obviously disappointed us in their output. I'm talking about Rolo and Hutchinson and, some of these other guys, but I really think that the chemistry is going to be important. And just once you plug Lauri back into that system, when he can start to play and start to practice, then I think that we're going to shine even further. So sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. And that's how I'm at least looking at this from an optimistic standpoint.
Kind of like I said on my channel, I believe this is going to help us. Lauri getting injured. If you think about how Lauri Markkanen got to start last season, it was because of the fight between Portis and Mirotic. And I believe injuries sometimes can really help some players step up. A guy like Carter, he didn't have his best game tonight. He was still low productive on the defensive side of the ball. And he's going to get more minutes. So because of that, and now guys like Hutchinson are going to get more looks. So this can really, really help us in terms of finding chemistry and getting other guys an opportunity to step up. So Lauri Markkanen, I still believe, is a key player for us. He might be our best player. But him getting injured definitely opens up more room for a guy like Carter, because Carter will get more opportunities now, because he might start right now. So especially if Lopez doesn't start playing well.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't like it though. I don't like Lauri Markkanen shooting those left-handed threes, because that's just saying that his right arm is jacked, which that is his shooting arm. And yeah, as you guys said, man, I think that Lauri Markkanen is the key to our future. Obviously, like he was one of the best rookies last year. If they could have done that draft over, I really think that Lauri Markkanen would have been at least a top 3 pick. So Lauri Markkanen is definitely like we need him. We need him back, like, definitely. But guys, like, were you guys on Twitter?
Yeah, not during the game. No, I was stuck in traffic.
Not during the game, no.
First half.
I wanted to talk about this one last thing. And all right, so it was our guy from Bulls Scripted. Like, he made a tweet and he said, "Can really see the Bulls trying to trade BP and giving Jabari his role. Don't think Jabari or Rolo would bring much of a return without taking on a counterproductive salary. So with flexibility and return in mind, trading BP probably makes the most sense, which sucks." End quote.
Now 20 a game up.
Listen, what I retorted with, I said, I'd rather just not pay Jabari next season and let Rolo fall off the books if Portis is keeping up this by mid-season. That would be extremely boneheaded, because I'm sure it wouldn't even get us a mid-first round pick. Now, I kind of get what he was meaning, because the Bulls only have a few more games or a few more weeks, I'm not really sure, before like they can like extend Bobby Portis, like, because after that, then it'll basically be Bobby Portis betting on himself the same way Jimmy did, when the Bulls ended up having to pay him $95 million instead of $40. But my thing is if Bobby Portis continues to play this way, especially if Jabari Parker is looking the way that he's looking, then let Jabari walk and match the offer that any other team throws at him. I'm not going to say any other team, because if they throw him like $20 million or something like that, like I don't know. But with how Bobby Portis is playing right now, I'll give him 16. If he could keep something like this up, I'm willing to pay him 14 to 16 mil. And a lot of people think that that's too expensive for a bench player. But what if he's a top candidate for Sixth Man of the Year every year for the next 6 seasons? You don't think he's worth 14 to 16 million?
See, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to pay Bobby Portis $15 million a year, because think about it. We have a young team, and we still, in a couple of years, we might have to pay Lauri Markkanen. We might have to pay Chris Dunn. And this summer coming up, this is going to probably be the most important summer for us in terms of building that championship team, because there are going to be guys like Kyrie Irving available. I'm not saying we for sure going to sign them, but you have to leave that on salary cap space for guys like that are more important, because I'll be open to paying Bobby Portis maybe $12 million, 12 or 13, but 15 is pushing it a little bit, because yes, he's a really good player. I really like him. I want to keep him. But like you said, he's a role player. He's a 6-man at best. I like the improvement he's made, but we cannot afford to pay Bobby Portis $15 million a year. But we might be facing a situation we have to, because it's free agency. Because once you hit free agency, anything can happen. All you need is one team to believe in you. And there's a team out there that might offer him $15 million a year, because he's still young. He's a very young player.
Exactly.
He has an upside, and he's improved in the league.
Okay, but look at it like this. How many expensive contracts do we have on this team right now? Zach LaVine. And besides him, we have Rolo with the $14 million. He's falling off the books next year. We have Jabari Parker with the $20 million. That's only for this year. He's falling off the books next year. Now, if Chris Dunn comes through and plays well, I don't think that he's going to garner I don't think he's going to play well enough to where he's going to get a max contract or anything like that.
But he would get more than $15 million per season.
I don't know. If the Bulls want to sign him to a 5-year, $50 million contract, I don't see him turning that down with how he's playing right now.
See, that's the thing. He's playing,
and that's $10 million a year.
Chris Dunn is playing the most important position probably on the roster in the NBA. Probably the point guard position.
Chris Dunn is how old? He's 24, going on 25 years old. And he's been in the league for a little while now, and he hasn't made huge strides. I don't necessarily know if I think that Chris Dunn is gonna develop into an all-star point guard just yet. I think he can be a borderline one. I think he'll always be a stellar defender. I think he has the potential to be an all-defensive player. But do you think that that's gonna garner a $100 million contract? Or even a $70 million contract.
People were sleeping on Chris. This is only his third season in the NBA. People forget that his first year he played under Tom Thibodeau, who's probably one of the worst coaches you can get as a rookie, because he's not going to play you. You're going to have no confidence. Look what Chris Dunn accomplished last year. He played low sample size. I know he got hurt at the end, and it kind of threw off his momentum, but he was playing really well. He's averaging around 13 points per game, and he looked like an all-around point guard. And I believe he can improve the jump shot. Is the biggest key for Chris Dunn, because he can get that jump shot down, because he has the quickness, he has the defense, jump shot, and Chris Dunn can give you 18 points per game, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. That's
steep.
About $15 million per season.
Yeah, but that definitely. But you really see Chris Dunn averaging 18 points, but now the 7 assists definitely. But 18 points per game with Lauri Markkanen and Zach LaVine on his team. And
if he averages 13 this year, he's going to improve, right? If he averages 13 this year, he's going to make a leap from 13 to maybe 15, and then next year it might be 18. So I don't think Chris Dunn's ceiling is as low as people think it is, because he has the athleticism and he has the defense. If you have athleticism and defense, all you have to work on is shooting. It's kind of like, I know he plays different position than Jimmy Butler, but did you ever see Jimmy Butler becoming the all-around player he is now coming into the league. But Jimmy Butler had the athleticism and the defense, and all he needed to do was improve the jump shot a little bit and his ability to drive. And it's the same thing that happens. Chris Dunn is only his third in the NBA. And last season, he made a huge leap from going from 4 points per game to 13. And he's going to take another step this year. And then next year, he is going to take another one. And so I don't think Chris Dunn's ceiling is as low as people think it is.
See, I don't necessarily think that being a great defensive player is having a low ceiling. I think that averaging around 14 points per game, being one of the top steals leaders in the league, being on an all defensive team, because look at a player like Draymond Green. Do you think that people think that he has a low ceiling when he averages maybe 12 points per game, around 8 rebounds and something like 7 assists? People are calling him a superstar. So I don't think that Chris Dunn's ceiling is low necessarily, but I just don't see him averaging anything like 18 points per game given the offensive talent that we have on this team right now. And plus, I think that the Bulls can get another player for that. I don't think that the Bulls are complete just yet on the offensive end. I think that we are nice on the defensive end with Chris Dunn at the helm, and now with the new acquisition of Wendell Carter Jr. I think our offensive points are Zach LaVine and Lauri Markkanen. But I think that we still have a big hole at that 3 position, and I don't think that Jabari Parker is going to fill that. So with that, I think that's what we're waiting for our superstar. That's what we're waiting for our superstar. And exactly. I think that's where we're going to get that top-notch offensive player.
And that's Chris why Dunn, you can't afford to pay Bobby Portis.
But you also forgetting that the cap is going to rise, dog. The cap is going to rise. With how popular the NBA is becoming right now, I really think within the next few years, the salary cap will be much larger than it is right now. That's why all of those players got paid that crazy money those past few years. You know what I'm saying? I'm not scared about it.
Do you think the Bulls have on the roster right now?
How many what?
Superstars.
1.
2. I feel like 1. I feel like Lauri Markkanen.
So if you have
I think
one
that Zach
superstar,
LaVine could be an all-star.
That is not good enough to beat the Warriors, right? Because the Warriors have 4 superstars on their roster. Mm-hmm. And you need to match that. Because if you pay Bobby Portis 15, I know the cap is going up. That means you need to go out there. You still need to get 2 more superstars. Because let's be honest, we're probably not going to be drafting top 5 anymore. So now the ways that we can get superstars is through free agency. And if you're spending your money on guys like Bobby Portis and giving them a part of your cap, because $50 million, yes, I agree with you, the cap is going to go up. But if you're giving Bobby Portis $50 million, that's going to restrict us a lot. If you look at what Minnesota has done.
Not a lot. I don't know.
It won't, but because you're going to need at least 2 more max players. You're going to need to go get 2 more max players. And
okay,
but do you that Lauri Markkanen is going to be a max player, so that's going to be
right.
3. And then you already pay Zach LaVine, and you're going to need to pay if you pay Portis 15, because now that's still. Do you get what I'm trying to say? That's still don't have as much money as you think we have.
No, I definitely feel you on that. I'm just stating that I don't know. But with Bobby Portis, I feel like we shouldn't let him slip through our fingers, man. When it's all said and done,
that's why I believe
I'm not
the Bulls should
stating
pay him
that we
before he
should
hits free
give
agency.
him anything long term necessarily. I think it's all about how the Bulls play with their money. It's all about how they play this thing out. Because if they give Bobby Portis one of those short 3-year deals or something like that, if he's willing to take it, then I think that we'll be in a good space. But do you think that the Bulls are going to get a superstar player with soon? I'm not sure. I don't know. And then comparing us to the Warriors right now, I think they're still way out of our league.
No, I was not comparing to the Warriors. I was saying in terms of max salary cap money that we have. How many max? Because the Bulls are not
even looking at their roster. They have Steph Curry, who is a max player. They just paid him $200-something
but
million.
They drafted him, so it was a little different. So it was different.
True, but still, we talking about money though, right?
Yeah, but see, the thing is, the Bulls are not thinking, "Oh my God, we have not landed free agents in the past, so in the future we're not going to count on that." They're still counting on that. They're still counting on the possibility of signing Kawhi Leonard and Kyrie Irving this offseason. They are hopeful because they've made a ton of positive moves ever since they started this rebuild. And they believe that if they can bring those guys into the building, they are going to have a chance to sign them. Of course, the outside world is not thinking that that's going to happen, but this is the NBA. Players want to go to franchises that have an upside, and this Bulls team do have an upside because, like you said, Zach LaVine is looking really good, and I'm a strong believer in Lowry marking it off, especially coming off that he had. So, and we have a ton of young talent too. So the Bulls front office is not thinking we have not been able to sign free agents, so let's not count on that. They are counting on that. They are looking at Kawhi Leonard and thinking there's a chance here. Of course, there's a small chance, but you're still going to have to leave that as a possibility, just like Kyrie Irving. I'm not on the Jimmy Butler train, especially off the things coming off Minnesota. I will not even touch Jimmy Butler, but there's also Kawhi Leonard. There's going to be a ton of free agents coming up in the next couple of years. And I'm a strong believer in leaving that salary cap open. I believe if we're going to sign Bobby Portis, we have to do so before the deadline, because once free agency hits, he's going to be overpaid. He's going to be overpaid, and we cannot afford to overpay players at this time right now.
Now, one thing I want to bring up one thing, which is we are by the end of this year, I think, going to see Omer Asik retire just because of his health reasons.
Yeah.
And that's 11.2 mil off the books.
Yeah.
So that helps us. We can't do anything about the human trash can Felicio for at least another couple years. Rolo is going to be gone. That's 14 mil. You got Jabari. That's 20 mil. We got money. We got money at the end of the year. We got it.
Exactly. And do you want to build a dynasty, or do you want to just try to build a team that can maybe make it to the championship and then the team just falls apart later? Because and what I mean by that is looking at the Warriors right now, how they are able to keep their team together. You know what I'm saying? They won their third title? What was that last year? Was that their third or second? Third title in a row. And the only reason that they're able to do that is because they're keeping their players. They're keeping all of their core players. Now, obviously, they have the best players in the league, and KD is he's taking a little bit less money to stick in and all of that. But they still are paying. Like Klay Thompson, he's not on a rookie deal. Steph Curry, he ain't been on a rookie deal in a minute. Draymond Green, is he on a rookie deal? No. Obviously, Kevin Durant isn't. So what I'm saying is, where there's a will, there's a way. And I don't believe that the Bulls should just let this man walk, because I don't think that we're going to get a better player right now. You know what I'm saying? Through the draft and then wait for him to develop? Don't let Bobby Portis go. Otherwise, what's your idea? What do you think that they should do then?
Right now, I mean, I agree with you. We can't let this man walk. And I believe if we are going to sign him, we have to do so before the deadline. We have to do, because free agency, everybody gets overpaid. And the Bulls have to be really, really keying in on this, because he's a key player for us. He's a guy that we drafted, we developed, and he has to stick around for the long term, because if we're going to be good, we need a six-man coming off the bench. And Bobby Portis can be that guy for us, because he can play defense at times and he can shoot the three. And he's versatile. He can play multiple positions. And we need guys like that on this roster. So if we're going to sign him, it's important we do so before the deadline, because if it's going to be cheaper before the deadline, but after the deadline, and if we wait for the offseason, he's going to be overpaid. And we might have to match it. But he's a guy, for sure, I agree, that we have to keep. But I would like to get him signed before the offseason.
No, I'm definitely with you on that. I don't want to overpay him. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to overpay him. But if we have to fork over something between 13 to 15, I don't think that'll be too steep in the future, is all I'm saying.
I gotcha. Yeah, I'm with you. I think we're going to have the money. I think we can pay him. And I'd like to keep Bobby, because I know one thing: if he goes somewhere else, he's going to blow up. For sure. And I don't want to see him blowing up somewhere else. It's just heartbreaking. You don't like to see that. The one thing that the one signing that every indication is pointing to right now, next year, I think we're bringing D Rose back. I do. As a backup, I really do.
No, I don't see it. I just don't see it.
Come on, man. Sunset him at this final year in the league.
That would be too heartbreaking, bro. I don't know.
No, I can't. I can't see.
It would be dope for him to retire here, but I don't think D Rose is ready to retire.
Oh yeah, I have another question for you guys. Do you guys believe D Rose's jersey should be retired in Chicago?
Yes.
Yeah, we went over
about this on the Big Red Bus podcast.
Yeah, we were on Chicago Bullseye Monday, and I kind of thought of this. I was under the question was who should have their number retired: Norm Van Leer, Derrick Rose, and who was the other one that was in the list? Wyse?
Kirk Heinrich.
Yeah, Heinrich. Yeah. And I chose none of the above at the time, and I started thinking about it since that question, and I do think he deserves it. Man, he put in a lot for the city. Rookie of the Year, had MVP, youngest MVP in the league, and it was just injuries that stunted that whole thing. I think that, God, if that fateful day didn't happen against the 76ers and he got that ACL, I think we would have won a championship by now, seriously.
Yeah, right. I believe his jersey should be retired because when I think of number one in Chicago, I always think of Derrick Rose. Yeah. He's going to be that number one. And that's why I have not been pleased with the Bulls organization trying to give his number away to some players that are not even good. So I believe his number should definitely be retired in this league for the Bulls because he did a lot for the city. And he's always going to be my favorite basketball player. And I just love Derrick Rose, and I love the energy he brought to the city. And it was fun watching him play because he, like you said, Rookie of the Year, youngest MVP ever. And it was just extremely fun. I still go back and watch his old highlights. And it's just, some of those highlights have like 10 million views. And I'll probably have like maybe 1 million of those views. So I'm definitely a Derrick Rose. I love Derrick Rose. So I would say his jersey has to be retired in Chicago.
My dream scenario is that Jabari actually picks it up and kicks some ass this year. And we re-sign him again for next year, and then we bring Rose in, and so Jabari and Rose can play in the same team.
No.
Two Simeon guys?
No.
What about expectations for this team, though? I don't know if you guys talked about that already, or like, what expectation do you guys have for this team? Because me personally, I expect playoffs, or Fred is gone. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think between 34 and 40 wins. That's my projection.
Yeah, man, my projection was 35 wins. I don't necessarily think that Fred should be gone if they win at least 35 to 38 games. Just because, as I've said before, this is the first time that he's had a team that he actually likes, that he actually can use for his system. So, I think that the Bulls should suck it up and let the man play out the rest of his contract, especially if he looks respectable. No, next year.
Next year?
He got a 5-year deal. This is
got a 5-year deal. Okay. Yeah, because the Bulls can get 40 wins. I believe 40 wins, especially in the Eastern Conference, the Cavs being out of it. Especially because LeBron James left. So I don't expect the Cavs to be as good. So the Bulls should find a way to get 40 wins because if Fred Hoiberg is the coach we think he is, I like him a lot. I believe he's a new age type of coach who lets the players play. If he's that coach for us, kind of like Brad Stevens did with the Celtics, I'm not saying he's Brad Stevens, but look at the work Brad Stevens did with the young team. If he's that coach for us, he's going to find a way to get us into the playoffs. I believe playoffs is the expectation. It doesn't matter if it's 30 wins or 40 wins, but playoffs, minimum 8 seed, it should be the expectation. Doesn't matter. I don't care how many wins we get. We just got to find a way to get into the playoffs, especially if Larry Markkinen comes back and has the season I think he's going to have.
Yeah, and I want them to make the playoffs just because then we get to be that much more enticing for any big-name free agents that might want to come to town. Because they're not going to want to play with a bunch of scrubs that can't even make the playoffs 2 years in a row.
Exactly.
It ain't happening. All right, well, we've had a heated discussion here, and this is like one of the most back-and-forth marathons that we've had on the show so far. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll close it out right after this. I've got something new that I've talked about the last couple weeks. It's bulls.fm. It's a website that I put together. It's a great network of all of the different independent Chicago Bulls podcasts that are out there. So just go to bulls.fm in your browser. We're going to have a live streaming audio channel pretty soon. But in the meantime, here's who I've got as far as a lineup. We've got us, the Bulls podcast. We got Bulls Gold with Edward Schuler, who you heard last week. We've got Bulls HQ. Chicago Bullseye with C-Red Fred, Ball on Bulls with Big Dave and Chris, who we've had on the show, the Bulls Beat with Doug Bonus, and the Big Red Bus, which is with Doug and Fred at the same time. So all the shows get automatically updated every hour, so it checks everybody's feed every single hour, so you're guaranteed that the site is always going to be 100% current with everybody's podcast. So you can enjoy the best Bulls podcasts wherever you happen to be at any time. So check it out at bulls.fm. Okay, we're back, and we want to acknowledge the passing of Tex Winter. He was the longtime assistant coach of the Bulls and the Lakers, and he passed away today at age 96. John Paxson had a really nice poignant quote about him. He said, Tex Winter was a basketball legend and perhaps the finest fundamental teacher in the history of our game. He was an innovator who had high standards for how basketball should be played and approached every day. Those of us who were lucky enough to play for him will always respect his devotion to the game of basketball. His contributions to the Bulls organization will always be remembered. And I can't second that enough. And in fact, today on ESPN, they were actually talking about Tex and said that he was set to retire from the league in 1985. And I wonder what would happen if he actually did, if we would have even had the number of championships or the stellar defense that all those championship teams had. So we're going to give a moment of silence here for Tex Winter. Okay, we are back to close it all out, and we want to thank our new friend of the show, Swaggy Brice. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show, Brice, and we look forward to having you back on the show during the regular season. And you can find his channel on YouTube at Swaggy Brice and on social at Swaggy Brice. I know you're big on IG and all the rest of it. So, Brice, thank you so much for joining us today on the show.
I appreciate you guys having me. I appreciate the discussion, especially going back and forth with Wyse. This is extremely fun. I want to come back sometime soon. Whenever you guys feel like inviting me back on the show, I'll be more than happy to take time off my day to do this. This is extremely fun, and you guys have definitely great podcast going on. And I've listened to some of the episodes before, and this is great. So thank you so much, you guys, for having me.
Yeah, with pleasure, man. We'd love to have you back. That'd be great. Wyse, what's your closing thoughts for the show?
Yeah, man. Hands down, Swaggy, you killed it, bro. Like I see why your channel is doing really well, and a lot of people follow you and listen to you, man. It was great just coming on, chatting with you, man. Like you said, I love the back and forth. I love your basketball, man, and you did your thing, man. So yeah, everybody go check out my man and all of his social media and on YouTube at Swaggy Brice. So, man, it was a great show. That's all that I can say, man. I can't wait to do it again.
This was fun. I definitely want to come back. Thank you guys so much.
Until next time, thanks for listening, everybody. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Hey, Bulls fans! This is your Bulls championship announcer, Ray Clay, saying, so long, everybody. Go Bulls!